Hello!
Good afternoon.
Hi there.
And welcome to Meet at the Hotel Bar, the penultimate episode of Series 2. After being tangled up in tabloid dramas, hitting the podcast charts, and unearthing some of the best kept touring stories you will ever hear, we are back again, bigger and better. Who knew that was even possible?
If you're new here, we are Freddie, JC and Huss from the band Flawes, a three-piece indie pop band from London via Huddersfield. And since we started touring and travelling the globe, we realised that there are so many funny things that happen on and off stage, and so many stories that never get shared with the rest of the world. They just stay in the dressing rooms and tour buses of the bands and artists you love.
Until now. In this podcast, we're lifting the lid on life on the road, and where better to meet up and tell those touring tales than a place every touring musician knows well, the trusty Hotel Bar.
In today's episode, we met up with lead singer Samir and guitarist Eric from US alt-rockers Young the Giant in their hotel bar in Brixton, the morning of their first London headline show in over 4 years. Young the Giant have been literal giants of the alt-rock scene since forming back in Irvine in 2004. They've received nominations from the likes of MTV and Billboard magazine, have had multiple singles reach platinum status and continue to headline venues like the Forum in LA and Red Rocks. Nearly 20 years on.
I really enjoyed today's conversation. Samir and Eric were both great storytellers and very generous with their time. It was a real reminder of how important having a great team around you is, and how pivotal some moments in a career can be.
Stay tuned to hear stories of jamming with the likes of Adele, James Blake and Metronomy, sharing a tour bus with 50 crickets, and how to play guitar after you've been stung on the hand by a bee.
This is Young the Giant coming up on Meet at the Hotel Bar. Meet at the Hotel Bar. Nice one, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. We have got Young the Giant, we've got Samir and Eric. Normally the first question would be, what do you want to drink? But the bar is closed. We're currently in a hotel bar. The bar is closed. Someone's doing a vacuuming. You call it vacuuming? Would you say vacuuming or would you?
Vacuuming?
Yeah.
Vacuuming, yeah. Cleaning, hoovering, sweeping the floors.
Yeah. So apologies for any noise throughout the podcast, but we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it anyway. So you are 3 shows into a European tour. You play London tonight at Electric Brixton, and we've come to meet you at your hotel bar, as the name of this podcast suggests. Firstly, thanks for giving up your morning. Secondly, how is the tour going so far?
Yeah, it's been great so far. Actually, it feels like we've been on tour longer because it's only been 3 shows, but we've had some days off, and this is after a 52-date tour in the States.
Oh, wow.
And so I think our team and everyone, we're just trying to pace ourselves, make sure we're not completely burnt out by the end of this. But it's been an experience. You know, we'll obviously touch upon it later, but we don't play in UK, Europe as much as we do in the States, which is obvious. But every time we come here, it's just a great experience, and it tends to be every 4 or 5 years. And in some of these places, you know, like in Dublin, we've never played before. And last night in Manchester, we hadn't been to Manchester in maybe 11 or 12 years.
Oh, shit.
London, it's been 4 years. So, you know, we intend to make that a little quicker every time now. But
have you been to Dublin before?
No, never.
Oh, do you guys like Guinness?
Yes, we do.
I liked Guinness in Dublin, and Manchester was pretty good too, but at home I am not a Guinness fan at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different. Like, the Guinness in Dublin is like...
Yeah, I don't actually like or drink Guinness, but when in Ireland, it's got to be done, and even I can appreciate how good it is there.
I think because they go through so much of it, I think someone was explaining to me, because they go through so much of Guinness there, like it's so fresh. So it's like if you buy like a Guinness here, like it may have been in the keg or whatever for a week or however long. Whereas like there, like they're refreshing the kegs all the time, so it's so fresh. And because like they make it like literally in Dublin, like it's
it makes sense.
And there's also, I feel like I'm like a Dublin like
tour guide.
But yeah, if you do really like it, you should go to the Guinness like, what's it called, factory?
Museum, Guinness.
We were there. We had a day off before the show, so we were there for 2 days, and so cool. We were able to kind of do some of the things. I went to the Book of Kells and saw the old harp. I didn't even realize that the Guinness logo is a harp, but it's like the old Irish, one of the oldest harps.
In all their ads. There's like a toucan, right? With a beer on his beak.
Yeah, we didn't see the toucan though.
Yeah. There's no toucan.
Is it something like it's a great day for a Guinness? So it's always a great day for a Guinness, and then there's like the toucan.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that when I saw the toucan. I was like, why the toucan? Because are toucans in Ireland?
I'm going to say no.
I didn't
That's the
think that
extent
they
of our
were.
knowledge. We've peaked. And in terms of your, I guess, decision to be in Europe a bit less often,
Yeah.
what does bring you back whenever you decide to come? Is there something just like a desire to come back, or is there a reason that ties in with those tours?
To be perfectly honest, I think we just made some mistakes. You go and do it. You have a career, and when you try and play different markets, it's like playing hot potato. And when things are really going really quickly somewhere else, it can be a choice at the time to just invest time there. So, the first record, we were coming to the UK and Europe quite frequently. I think we did maybe 2 or 3 tours just in the UK. We did Jules Holland. We were starting to have some buzz happening. We got Reading and Leeds, but we got this last minute offer to do the VMAs in the States, which at the time the VMAs was such a big thing. It changed our career overnight in the States. And I think if we'd had to make the decision again, we'd probably choose the same one because, obviously made a huge difference in our careers in the States. And at that point, we went from playing clubs and theaters, much like we're doing now, to playing big theaters and amphitheaters. And now we're doing, big amphitheaters in the States.
Yeah.
And I think it's been our biggest kind of regret over the last decade that we didn't come here more often. And so it's playing a game of catch up and wanting to be able to somehow build and grow here. And we try and do that. And we did that 4 years ago, but it was right before COVID. So, we kind of did the whole thing where we were lining up a bunch of festivals for 2020 and then it just, it didn't happen. So this is kind of like starting again from square one.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? And with you say you did 52 shows you said they're all in the States?
All in North America, yeah. So, Canada and the States, yeah.
Did you do like one per state? And then a couple extra?
Maybe 2 per state sometimes.
We didn't hit
depending
Alaska on this tour.
Not on this
although
tour.
we went to Alaska
where
for the
didn't
first
you go
time.
on that
Yes,
tour?
we've toured I think almost in every state in the country, and we've been to each city maybe 10-15 times, and it's great, and we're very grateful of the success that we have there. But at the same time, it's novel and new, exciting, inspiring for us to come out here and remember the times of 10, 11 years ago when things were different and when our career was different. This is almost like a blast to the past of that, and a savoring and an appreciation for where we've come since then.
Yeah.
Are there any spots on this run that you're particularly looking forward to going to?
Well, tonight should be really fun. Dublin was special since we had never been. Another city we've never been to is Vienna, where we're going on this tour.
Nice.
We have Berlin, and we're ending the tour in Milan, so that should be fun. We kind of we wanted to add that one to be the last.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like each country is a different reality of Young the Giant, and on the first record, we had a big like pop song with cough syrup in Italy. And it was like a #1 pop song there, which we've never had a top 40 #1 single in the States or anywhere else for that matter. So the kind of career trajectory, like what we were doing on that first record, was just absolutely hilarious. And some of the times there were very memorable. And so, obviously but there are not many artists who do play in Italy or can play in Italy. But I think we just trying to piggyback off of that.
Vacuum has started.
It has started again.
Sorry. You said you played 52 shows. Is there a place in the States that you're always like, oh, we can't wait to go back to Chicago? Or
I think we there's quite a few, but I think there's a sense of feeling like we're at home on the West Coast, and I think the Pacific Northwest specifically for me this tour, kind of landing in outer Seattle area, outer Portland area. There were some shows up in the Pacific Northwest that were really special, and Berkeley as well. Coming down the coast, doing the Greek Theater in Berkeley was really awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
And you guys played Red Rocks as well, right?
Yeah. We do Red Rocks, or now we're trying to do Red Rocks every year. It's a destination venue. Might be a hot take, but it's a British podcast, but Denver isn't my favorite place. But Red
Isn't
Rocks is
It isn't your favorite
it's
place
not.
because
But
the altitude, right?
It's the altitude. It's maybe a bunch of different things. But Red Rocks is just special. It's its own place and time, and you have different people coming in from all over the world to see shows there. So
Yeah, that's so cool. That's like one of my dream venues to
Yeah.
play that. You see that on like, I don't know. You see, I mean, it's like that U2 video. You know, the U2 concert they did there, and
Yeah.
like Mumford
Yeah.
and Sons, and you know, yeah, it looks incredible.
So can you guys take us back to your first ever tour and memories of that and how it's different to how things are today?
Yeah, well, our first ever tour. I mean, the first ever tour with this lineup was we shared a van, and we were opening for a band, the Brave Citizens tour. But that was a little bit maybe earlier. But
that was
on that tour we played a gig in Vegas, and there were 6 members of the band, and we all stayed in one hotel room at a Motel 6, and a Motel 6 in the States is like not a great situation.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I was sharing a bed with one of the members of the band, and I remember waking up and there was a cockroach dead in between my legs, which means it was probably alive, and I think I probably
Rolled over it.
killed it while I was sleeping. So that was
6 is
fun.
impressive. I think we've maxed out at 3 to a room.
Yeah.
6, yeah.
6 in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cozy.
We started out really young touring. You know, we were we were like 18, 19, and so our first real major tour, we were properly signed, and we were working on the first record. We were first of 3 for a band called Minus the Bear. It was a really great artist, and at that time they were already in their mid-30s probably. And then the opening act, Everest, main support, they were also in their 30s, 40s, and so we were just like these like little kids, and they kind of taught us the hard knocks, or just kind of rag on us, and we gained their respect, I think, over the course of that tour. But it was quite memorable, just do's and don'ts, and yeah, there was.
So how old were you on that tour?
I think I was 19 or 20.
Yeah,
maybe.
that was 2009 or so. Fall of 2009, I want to say, because it was before we put out our first record. And I must have been about 19, and the guys ranged around 19, 20, something like that. We had a 15-passenger van, and the back 2 rows were out, and we had this mattress, and we would sleep with our heads towards the front, which is not a good thing to do. And I remember at one point, I think it was Everest, the band that played after us. There's the kind of like tour pranks some bands do, and they put like 50 live crickets in our van at one point.
Where'd you get 50 crickets from on tour?
I think from a pet store, because they
bait shop or something.
Yeah, you feed like your iguana or something.
Yeah, okay.
But we literally had no idea. Like at one point, I remember someone was like, "Do you guys hear a cricket?" But we literally had no idea until they told us that they put 50 crickets in our van.
They must have all died in there by just how horrible it was.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know where they were. I didn't see them.
Yeah, and to state the obvious for the people, like you shouldn't be, if you're in a van and trailer touring, you should never face your heads towards the front of the bus.
If you're sleeping,
because if you're
Slamming on
gonna
the brakes.
crash, you're gonna hit your head. So, but we did the whole tour like that. I think.
Shit, that's scary. I was in a bus crash once.
It's
I feel like I'm not a great passenger now. I'm like the kind of guy, like if we ever get like a new TM for like the day or whatever, I'm always like, I always like pull him to one side. I'm like, just to let you know, like I was in a crash. I don't want you to speed. Like literally stay to the.
Well, the worst thing is, which we seem to be seeing quite a lot, is that the driver will want to join the conversation in the back.
Yeah.
They're just turning like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, look at the road.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
It's been good.
We've heard a few stories over the years, not with any of our bus drivers, but actually I think Minus the Bear, the first tour we ever did, I think it was either them or Everest that had a story about they didn't realize that the bus driver, when they were kind of hitting straightaways on the highways in the US, they played a game where the bus driver would get up from their seat while the car was going on a straightaway and run as far to the back of the bus as they could and tap and then go back
on the cruise control.
And literally one of the members of the band was getting up to pee in the middle of the night, and sees the bus driver like running to the back of the bus while the bus is moving just to play this game. It's like insane.
I hope they were fired on the spot. That's
People are mad.
I think they were.
I remember I literally came to mind. I did a tour once. It was very early on. It was a tour of the States. It was like very, very early on in the tour, and our tour manager put a stern word in and said no. But this guy he called it his wooden leg. It was the bus driver, and it was literally like a plank of wood and then like another thing. And he basically, because obviously like driving in the States is like different to driving like in Europe. Like you can drive in the States for days and I feel like you still don't get anywhere. He literally he basically had like there's 2 planks of wood that he would basically set up on the accelerator pedal so that he could like rest his leg, and then he would just like sit at the side, and then our tour manager, like I think he saw it at the side and was like, what's that? And I think he was boasting about it and was just like, oh yeah, that's my wooden leg. And I was like, don't use that.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Don't be using that.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh okay. So we love a travel day story in Flawes. What is the best travel day or day off that comes to mind?
Best travel day or day off?
Yeah, like a day off where you found yourself in a random country and you know something's happened, or you've we love a spur of the moment sort of like, oh yeah, and then this time we went to so and so and it ends up being the best day ever.
Yeah. I mean, day off wise, on this US summer tour, where did we go rafting?
Did we go rafting in Moab in Utah, which is just gorgeous over there.
Yeah.
We went with the whole band and the crew, and I think we had 20-something crew. So it was, a lot of us just hopped in a school bus and went rafting. It was beautiful.
Utah is really beautiful.
Yeah, that's so sick. I actually saw that. I saw you posted it on your Facebook. But I was going to ask this. I saw you said you called it you called it an off day. You said off day in Utah. Now, would you call, I don't know if it's like a US UK thing. Would you call it an off day or a day off? Would you? Because I would consider an off day being like, I'm having like an off day, as in like I'm having like a bad day. I'm having like
day.
You're not on.
I think
like
we kind of interchange.
Yeah, they're interinterentible for us, which is just a day off.
But
there are no rules.
We also do say I'm having an off day, like if you're out of it. But I think we just flipped it around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And normally, like on a off day or day off, are you like exploring? Are you seeing like the city? Are you writing songs? Are you hitting the gym? What would normally?
I think it depends on where we are in our lives too, and creatively, there are tours where all of us have our mobile recording rigs and we're in the hotel rooms and we're writing and we're very prolific, and there's sometimes where we just kind of, especially towards the end of a 52-day tour, where we just really need to do nothing and just kind of sit in one place. But we try as much as possible to try and see the world, because we don't want to ever grow completely jaded and just sit in the hotel room watching Netflix. I think the goal is to try and just be out in the world and get inspired by human stories and get inspired by places, and it can always be fodder for new music,
Yeah, but you do get different programs on Netflix in the UK than you do in the States.
This is true.
Yeah, actually, someone traveling with us right now was in I think in Dublin or something, was watching TV and stumbled upon a show called Naked Attraction.
Yeah.
I had never heard about the show, and it was like full frontal nudity.
It's pretty intense,
like
isn't it?
so funny.
No censoring, just
but we didn't realize we get that as well. It just started on HBO.
Oh, you get it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, just an American version, or the
same show.
Same show. Yeah.
But we have a few of those funny shows, like Naked and Dating and all these things. There's one in the wilderness, like Naked and Afraid, but they don't, they there's always blurring out in the States.
Okay, this is
no full, like,
we're
so
a lot
funny.
more repressed over there.
Yeah.
But this is not. It's normally like it would be something like they'd have like a piercing, or like it would. It's always like something unique why they've gotten to go on the show.
Yeah, it seemed like that.
I haven't seen enough of it to know.
I mean, I think I'm on series 7.
Season 12.
It did cause outrage when it came out. I feel like it came out like maybe like 5 years ago. I remember like people were not happy about it.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. It's
Um,
definitely caught on, though, the nudity thing. There seems to be just a bunch of new
You watch
new
Sex Education?
programs. Yeah, Sex Education.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
There's also like a hunting one.
The
where-
show
Yeah.
Sex Education.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good show.
Have you seen the new series?
Yeah, the
No.
new season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode
halfway
1.
through. No spoilers.
Okay, episode 1 where the projector.
The projector.
I haven't seen any new season.
What do I?
no.
Have you not seen the
I have, but my memory is
the
atrocious.
projector, where he connects his
yes,
phone
that's
to the
it.
projector?
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It's a good show.
Cool. So, well, back to live gigs, away from
Yeah,
nudity.
back to the reason
Let's
we-
get it PG. We like to think the beauty of live gigs is that not everything always goes according to plan. What is the most memorable things happen whilst on stage? Maybe good or bad? Let's go with bad first.
Let's see. I've hurt people on stage on accident. I mean, I
people?
think there was a time where I was drinking pretty heavily before shows, and it wasn't that bad. I think I threw a go-go bell in the air like really high.
It was like what's is
I
that?
hit Eric in the head with that. That wasn't
Yeah.
maybe great. But
It was the that instrument.
oh, the
Sounds like
does.
the ruler against the
Yeah.
desk.
yeah. But I think we've been overall pretty lucky. We haven't had any like horrible experiences. We've had things where half of our carne or freight won't show up to a festival, and we just kind of have to improvise. And it tends to be those become the most memorable shows because you're not comfortable. You have to maybe play different songs. You don't have your like synthesizers or whatever. You can't do certain things. So we played one such in New Orleans. Was it Voodoo Fest?
I think so. Yeah.
And like nothing arrived. We got there maybe like 45 minutes before showtime because our flights were all delayed.
You said nothing arrived.
Well, we had some guitars,
bare
whatever,
bones.
the
Okay.
most bare bones stuff. I think things that people were carrying with them, and had to borrow some stuff, maybe borrowed some drums, and it ended up being a great show.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was almost like a stripped down kind of thing, but yeah, there's one show I remember the first music festival we ever played. We actually, the first time we came to the UK and Europe in 2011, when we landed, we went straight to Seattle, and we played our first festival at the Gorge. It's a festival called Sasquatch, and we were having a great time. We got in one day late, and we rented an RV. We drove the RV from the Seattle airport to the Gorge, which is this beautiful venue, and we were playing first on the main stage, so we were on at like noon or something the next day, and we parked our RV, and since we were late, they said, oh, there's no room in the artist parking, so you can park pretty much right in front of the entrance. And so our RV was there, and then there's this field, and then the entrance of the festival, so we didn't have to like hike to get to the festival or anything. We just walked out. We had this whole field. It was amazing. And I remember we had a friend there who was wearing this thick leather jacket with this huge American flag on the back of this jacket. And he's like, you should wear this for the show. I said, okay, whatever, blah, blah, I'm wearing this thick leather jacket. We're playing the show. It's like noon or something. And, dancing around, whatever, playing the show. And all of a sudden during this song starts and a bee lands right between my thumb and my pointer finger on my left hand and stings me during the show. And my mom, I remember somewhere logged in my memory that my mom was allergic to bees at some point, whatever. So I started freaking out. I've never been
Which
bit by
hand
it.
was it?
It's my left hand. So
Okay,
and I'm looking at I'm looking at the band like, oh my God, and everyone's like, damn, Eric's like
Grooving. I was
really
like, he's like moving, just like going all
yeah,
over
I'm
the
going
place.
crazy, and then after the song ends, I'm like, I got stung by a bee. I need to. But I was fine. I
Did you
wasn't
make it
allergic.
through the gig? Yeah.
Yeah, I was fine. Yeah, I wasn't allergic. I'm not allergic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when something goes wrong, I feel like it's the adrenaline kind of makes it like more fun. Like, or we always say we've done a lot of like support tours where like you don't get a sound check, everything's rushed. The sound check, you might have got a 5-minute sound check and you managed to plug a couple bits in and you're literally going blind. We've done shows where we've literally sound checked to a crowd.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are always the best gigs because your adrenaline's there. You're pumped. You just like and you get on. You're like, let's just do this. And
Yeah, it's so easy to be grumpy about that and let that mood show itself on stage. But that's just going to give the crowd the worst possible show.
And then when it gets to like, I don't know, fifth or sixth show in the tour, you know, and you do get a full sound check and you're like, oh shit, like what's tonight going to be like? We're comfortable here. We need to create some peril. No. Yeah. On the flip side, what would you consider to be your career highlight? So, like, if you were in a bar and someone were to ask you, like, you know, what's the coolest thing you've done? What would your answer be?
I mean, I think headlining the Forum was in LA, which is a very iconic venue, sports arena there, was one of our biggest highlights. It's such a historic venue, and I think I'm like the first Indian American lead singer in a band to headline that venue. So that, for me personally, that was a huge high, and I think we thrive on that pressure too. So, you know, there are moments like the VMAs obviously I still look back at that performance, and I'm proud of ourselves. So it was a really good performance. And I think that was the moment that we needed to arise to the occasion, and we did. And it obviously made a huge difference in our careers. I think Jules Holland as well, you know, was another amazing moment. We'd gotten that gig, and actually we were flying in. That was the first thing we were supposed to do, and we connected in DC. And I remember that night, the news had announced that Osama bin Laden had been assassinated. So they downed all the planes. So we ended up spending the night there, and we were late. Usually, you know, for Jules, you get in the day before. Your whole crew gets to do a proper sound check. You meet everyone, you hang out. So we arrived like just straight from the airport and went straight to the BBC and essentially like got to line check everything and went on. And we knew it was an important moment. I think Adele had just kind of released, you know, Rolling in the Deep, and that was like that big moment for her. She was like the marquee act. It was Adele and James Blake and R. Kelly, and Metronomy and us, and it was an amazing lineup, and we were so delirious. But I remember just also being very, very pleased with that performance as well. Yeah. I also remember I'm not like the shortest person. I'm not extremely tall, but you know, I'm just going to use feet because I'm American. I'm just under 6 feet. But Adele and James Blake and R. Kelly and even the singer from Metronomy, they're like all 6+, like hovering above me. Really? So in the beginning, when the singers meet Jules, you all can, you know, talk and hang out. I'm like the shortest person there. I always remember that being a fun moment. And Adele was, you know, really, I think at that time, she was really nervous because this was like this first moment for her, and kind of made some great backstage connections that evening too.
Amazing. That's like, I always love that kind of like mindset that you have to go into. Someone told me once, like really early on, which stuck, which was there's no such thing as sink or swim. It's swim or swim. That's just like the mentality of those big moments of like, it's like, let's go. Like there can't even be a possibility of there's a little fly that keeps bothering me. I feel like all of us, and I feel like
it's been going to
it's whenever someone's speaking, it comes to that person.
He's listening to the.
There we go.
Oh, you got it.
You got it.
This is why we need a video element, because that was like pretty skillful.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. It did disappear though. Okay. So.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't quite look like a fly. I'm not sure what that was.
Like a moth, maybe.
In my
like
mind, I was thinking about Paris's bed bug infestation right now.
Oh no!
I feel like we've covered insects quite a bit already. This is the theme of the podcast.
But yeah, those TV gigs, they're so pivotal, I'm sure, because they reach such a wider audience. Like they go beyond your average music fan, just to kind of your everyday person.
Yeah,
it's kind of what takes you from appealing to just music fans to real like the wider public.
I think especially at that time it used to. I think it was the last era where that made a huge difference. And maybe I know things are slightly different here in the UK, and there's still these marquee moments for artists where they can really shine, and then it takes them to the next place. But they're becoming fewer and far between. So we were very, grateful to be up at that time for both the VMAs and Jules, to have it be like that moment where the viewership was massive.
Yeah, Jules is like an institution here. Like it was still going. Yeah. It's been going for
one of my actually absolute favorite TV performance ever. Just like in the States, we don't have that. Like there's no show that's just dedicated to music, you know, where you just have artists in the round. And that's the cool thing, you know, the beginning of the show, Jules will say to the band leader for Adele, like, hey, you know, let's start jamming A minor or something like that. And then everyone starts jamming together. It's so like, it's really collaborative, and you feel like you have this camaraderie with all these musicians, because it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you're kind of all in the same place performing for one another.
Yeah. Did he get on the piano, play a bit of Boogie Woogie?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he
did. I think he did a little duet with Adele as well at some point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through your rider? Is there anything out of the ordinary, or tips that you could give us or other bands? Any smart ideas for the rider?
Well, we've tapered off some of the hard alcohol options.
Tapered.
Yeah. We try to sometimes stagger, so it's like, you know, maybe you'll get tequila for a couple nights and whiskey for a couple nights, and, you know, whatever. But we also we got some lighter beer. We were drinking like heavier, like IPA. Like we had some IPAs on the rider for a while, and I think we all got kind of tired of drinking that and then going on stage. But we also have a lot of healthy options outside of alcohol.
Yeah. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, and we even didn't realize when we were doing the last tour, we have these weird legacy things in our rider that we haven't had in our rider for a long time. But sometimes people don't get the memo that there's a new rider, so they just end up using the old one from the last time you were there. So then there are these certain things that kind of show up sometimes. You're like, why is this here? You know, and some of them you just can't get rid of. You know, they're just like always there, and then you just get a bit tired of it.
We have a strange issue where our drummer is allergic to nuts. Every rider we seem to get includes a nut-based product, even though
Always.
in huge capitals it's like no nuts.
Yeah.
I feel like it just plants this subconscious seed, and they're like nuts every time.
I love the alternate rider thing, or like, you know, how, because you're so right. Like if you put whiskey on the rider, like by day 5 you've got 5 bottles of whiskey, and who's drinking 5 bottles of whiskey? Like they just Whereas if you alternate and you go, like maybe having like a Monday podcast or a Monday rider, Tuesday rider, Wednesday rider.
Yeah.
On Thursdays we drink whiskey. On Fridays, maybe we've just unearthed something there.
Yeah, we. I mean, most of our rider now it's not a big rider, but there's like, you know, dried mangoes. There's seaweed. You know, the little seaweed, dried seaweed.
Oh, the
little packs.
Yeah.
What do we get? We get kombucha, a couple coconut water, maybe. It's a very classic West LA rider.
Spearheaded by our
the
bassist.
alcohol.
But yeah, we also, like the last tour in the States, we worked with a company called Reverb to try and be as sustainable as possible. So we just didn't have any plastic water bottles anywhere, and just thermoses, and it's a bit more difficult to do in the rest of Europe. Yeah.
And do you guys have any top tips for touring, like that you would instill in any young musicians that might be listening to this podcast, of things to do, things to not do?
Pace yourself, maybe.
Pace yourself. I think we came up, you know, and I always say that it's been a while, but, you know, we kind of had this old school discipline in terms of how you perform. Like there could be an avalanche on stage, and you just don't want to show that to anyone in the audience. And I see that often with some younger artists, and even like more seasoned artists who maybe are more comfortable in the studio and not as much touring, and that ends up catching up with you when you kind of break the spell for the people in the audience, because they don't know. Most of them don't notice the little things that are really pissing you off, and so you just kind of have to like bear it and grin and get through the show, you know, and not like just kind of complain and get angry because people notice that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we do the thing where like if Freddie makes a mistake,
Doesn't happen.
instead of like us like looking at him being like Freddie, like almost like giving him that look to just be like, you know, we know that he's made a mistake, but if as soon as like I look at him, then everyone's like, oh yeah, shit, he did make a mistake, sort of thing. So like, just like cutting.
Yeah. It's unique for us in that, you know, the proportions on stage are so different right now too, that we're almost relearning some things that we had kind of maybe forgotten a little bit. It's easier to perform at bigger crowds. That's just the way it is, because you're smaller on stage. There's certain things, no one's noticing certain things.
Yeah.
So when you're playing to 10,000 people in the back, it's a bit forgiving. Whereas, now it's like these are club shows. The max tonight will be what, like 1,500 people. Maybe it's still a small theater. They can see everything that's going on stage. So you have to be extra cognizant that like the movements that you're making and everything, you're not letting people in on certain things that they shouldn't know.
The trade secrets.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, this brings us to the final part of the podcast. It's the quick fire round. So basically, when we say a word, it's basically the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
You can pass. Coming to the end of season 2, and we're yet to have a pass.
Okay. There's pressure now.
So, but you can. We always
I'm bad
option.
at this.
We always.
Yeah, I
we
know.
always
That's why I try to shake my brain out. Not overthink it.
So, first off, when we say the Jakes, you say
Babies.
Childhood.
baby's childhood. Okay. Well, yeah. You can. Oh, yeah. I didn't even say that. You can dwell on the answer, or you can just literally leave it as the one-word answer.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, I guess what I'll say quickly is that the Jakes was the end of the Jakes is what Young the Giant is, that lineup. But we had a revolving door of people from 2004 to about 2007, and that was like it was my first band, and so it's pretty amazing that my first band or whatever has become this.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot during those years, and we were very young,
Sweet.
So when we say Roadrunner Records, you say?
Probably best label we've been on.
The start.
The start.
The start of Young the Giant, and Roadrunner was the one record label that kind of gave us a deal, but believed in us, and also I think because their roster at the time, they kind of saw us as their indie rock band that they wanted to prove to people that they could kind of break an indie rock band, because they had Slipknot, a lot of metal artists, and then Nickelback, which and so I think because of that we were championed there, and
internationally,
internationally as well, and still to this day there's people who worked for Roadrunner who we're in loose touch with, but who just good people that
some of them may even come to the show tonight.
Yeah.
Or,
Nice.
in Holland and Germany. Yeah, I mean, I think another tip for artists is first off, really consider even if you need a record deal anymore, but second off, like if you do, don't fall for the label that's cool and has all your favorite artists on it, because when push comes to shove, who are they going to prioritize? They're going to prioritize the first artist that is on the thing that impressed you. It's actually better to work with like a mismatch where you were kind of like the only thing in that lane, and that really, really worked for us. So at the time, I think we were kind of debating between Atlantic proper and Roadrunner, and the whole system setup was a little bit different then. Roadrunner essentially told Atlantic to back off and not give us a deal. So we were kind of put in that corner. But even though the deal wasn't the most advantageous to us at the time, at least, people were rallied under a cause and a belief, that it wasn't like we represented something deeper than just like, oh, I'm working some band. It was like everyone wanted to prove themselves. And that was just kind of, everyone was on the same page about that. And that made a huge difference,
Great. That's cool. When we say the rock boat, you say...
Oh, God.
February.
So this is something that I saw like online. You guys are playing... they look so fucking cool.
Yeah, we're, I think, cautiously excited about it.
Samir's skeptical of
I
the
get
boat.
paranoid about being on a boat with people for many days.
People
some of whom
that
may be
like the
super
band.
fans and stuff. And most of our fans are really nice, really respectful. I love our Young the Giant fans. But there's also a type of fan that is a rock boat fan. And I think there's some kind of interesting things about that.
So I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really fun. I understand your skepticism.
I don't need some
but-
upside down pineapples or around. I don't know if
pray
you're.
that there's not another COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
There were all those
Oh,
boats
yeah.
stuck
Oh,
at sea.
no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Don't let-
I forgot about
That's
that.
going to be in the back of your mind.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Our photographer Lupe, who's out here in Europe with us, he's not a huge fan of being on the water and being on choppy water. So we'll see if he can even come out and make it happen.
That's also part of it for me.
So are you playing like multiple shows, or is it just you
Yes,
just play
we're
one
playing
show?
multiple shows. Or I think we're docking off in Florida, and we're going to like the Bahamas, and then we're gonna dock and play on ports. I think around there.
Oh, so you don't play on the boat, you play in like the places that you
I'm
stop
not
off.
entirely
it's on the
sure.
boat. I think we're
it's
rocking
on
the boat.
I think it's on the boat, but we're like docked, so we're not obviously like.
Okay,
It's
in
not
the
like a
middle of it.
Titanic situation where we're like playing while it's like just chopping up and down.
We did do that one time. We played some little boat that was going to Alcatraz
Oh, cool.
from San Francisco, and I just remember like, the boat is rocking, literally like going to side, and we're just like slooping over and playing the show. It's pretty funny.
That's jokes.
Yeah.
We did a similar thing, didn't we? We played on a boat. So we're signed to Red Bull Records,
Nice.
and we got invited. It's like 25 years of Red Bull. So they basically they hired this like super yacht, and we set off from like the south of France to Corsica, and
Nice.
we like played to, I don't know, it was like 200 employees.
Yeah.
All of that, the heads of like the departments for Red Bull to celebrate the 25 years. And there was like, just a small little setup, and then there was like a swimming pool. The head, well, I think it was one of the heads anyway of Red Bull came out, and he was like, "Oh, I'd like to thank so and so and so and so," and then everyone started chanting like "in the pool," and then like they jumped in the pool. And then he was like, "Oh, I'd also like to thank so and so and so and so for this amount of years," and they came out, and then everyone was like "in the pool." And then he called. It was my birthday randomly on the day, and he was like, "Oh, we've also got some birthdays. So and so from whatever department have you come? JC from Flawes, if you want to come forward." I was just like, "No," like went forward. And everyone's like, in the pool, and I'm like, literally, we were playing. It was like basically as soon as he did this like announcement, we were going to play straight after, and I was like, I can't do a set like drenched, so literally like backed out, and everyone was booing. And anyway, literally he did that, and then he was like, okay, like I'd like to now introduce Flawes. They're going to do this set, and then everyone started like to him being like, in the pool, like the big boss, and we were like, he's never going to do it. Literally, like, walks over to the side, takes off his watch, puts his watch to the side, and then jumps in the pool.
Yeah.
And I was like, imagine if that's like your big boss and he's like willing to do that. I was like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we played the set, and then last song, we like, I'm like to the boys, just like, you just ring out the last chord, and like ran down the steps and then jumped in the pool, and everyone's like, yeah, that's
That's a good moment.
It was a good moment. It was fun. It was a fun moment.
Okay, when we say Irvine, you say
Hometown.
Yeah.
It's where we all met. It's a very. I think we've had when you grow up in a quiet suburb town like that. Maybe not quiet, but you obviously can become, when you're a teenager, you don't really enjoy it. And I don't think I really want to live there right now. But there are many things that are amazing about the community. Everyone rallying around something. There's a lot of diversity there, and we have to thank just being from there. That is the reason why we all met.
Nice. It's cool. So when they're not here to defend themselves, but when we say Payam, Francois, and Jacob, you say.
Well, each person.
I mean, you can.
I was going to say brothers, family,
brothers, 100%. I think that's a great
Brothers.
word for it. We're brothers. We've been doing this together for a very long time, and we know each other in some ways better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm I'm proud of the friendship that we've retained over all of these years, and I think that we've only become closer and stronger as a unit, and as time goes on, and as everyone starts having families, and it's a special bond that we all have. So
Yeah.
Because you all change as people, don't you? As the band grows and gets older,
Yeah.
we all do too. And it's like we're all very different people to who we were when we started as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, to close it out, when we say Young the Giant, you say.
I mean, you said it has to be one word.
You can say one word.
Organism, I guess. Like, I just feel like it's a
superorganism.
Superorganism. That's a good band, actually. But it feels like something bigger than each one of our own contributions as individuals. I think that we've kind of now, we have the one question we don't love is why did you what's the band name? Because it's so common. But the answer that we've have now as we've gotten older and we look back retroactively at what that means, what Young the Giant means, I think we always kind of come back to this feeling of like youthful naivety, but like the wanting to be giant, and in the sense of like bigger than each individual. And I think that we've been very surprised and pleasantly surprised at where this band's taken us, and how fortunate we've been to make music together and do this as a living.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming. And,
thanks for having us.
Thank you for being on the podcast. And I hope tonight goes well, and the rest of the tour. And I'm sure we'll see you at a hotel bar somewhere in the future.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Nice one. A huge thanks to Young the Giant for being part of the podcast, and to Brixton Premier Inn Hotel Bar for letting us sit in and record the podcast, even though the bar was closed. Can you believe it's taken us almost 2 full series before hitting our first ever Premier Inn?
We couldn't do this podcast without you guys listening, so a huge thanks to you for being part of the Flawes family. And if you do like what you hear, then let us know, because there's nothing better than getting a little DM or a message saying how much you enjoyed a certain story, or how our sultry tones helped bring to life an otherwise long and slightly dull morning commute for you.
Please make sure you like, comment and subscribe anywhere and everywhere that you can. It's all about that algorithm. You can find us most places at Meet at the Hotel Bar or meetatthehotelbar.com. It really does make such a difference for us, an independent podcast in trying to climb those big bad podcast charts.
Join us next week for our season finale, and it's a good one. We have none other than Tulsa, Oklahoma's most famous export, Zach from Hanson. You can expect stories of surviving stage invasions, what happens when 6,000 people turn up to a small performance in a mall, how to act when the legs of your drum kit break mid-song, forcing your kick drum to literally roll off stage, and what to do when presented with a decaying rotten apple in a glass cage, which you apparently took a bite out of several years earlier. Yeah, that actually happened. Only on Meet at the Hotel Bar.